What can happen if the government thinks that I committed tax crimes? The short answer to this question is on top of the tax that you should have paid when you get caught cheating, plus the penalties and interest that attach to that, potentially a 75% fraud penalty. So if they hit you for $1,000 of additional tax, best case scenario is you wind up paying $1,750. You stand the potential risk of criminal prosecution. That's the short answer. The ramifications here go way beyond the simple penalties and interest that you ordinarily face in a standard civil audit. The ramifications are way beyond that. For many of my clients, the concept of having to spend time in a federal prison is almost unimaginable to them, and the stress and the anguish they feel when faced with the potential for criminal prosecution is indescribable. What haunts most of them is the shame, humiliation, and the social ostracization that they assume will be coming their way if they're convicted of a tax crime. Moreover, a lot of my clients have professional licenses. They're attorneys, they're doctors, they're CPAs. If they get criminal prosecution on their record, that's it for their license. They're no longer a doctor, they're no longer a CPA, they're no longer an attorney. And what a lot of my clients find really horrific is that they never realize that the government is going to publicize the fact that they're being criminally prosecuted. That's part of how the system works. They want as much publicity surrounding a prosecution as possible. This is one of the reasons that country western stars and movie stars are at high risk for criminal prosecution, because the publicity that would stem from prosecuting them. So the government looks to publicize the heck out of an issue to get as much deterrent effect as they can. The system functions on fear. They have to keep the average American running scared that they might be criminally prosecuted to get people to pay the taxes they should have paid in the first place. My clients usually find it very helpful to understand why the government is interested in criminally prosecuting them. Well, let me explain. The following quotations are right out of the U.S. Attorney's Manual, the tax division of the U.S. Attorney's Office. They're the ones that actually prosecute people for federal tax crimes. The first goal here is that the government is trying to preserve the integrity of the voluntary tax filing system that we have through vigorous and uniform criminal prosecutions. The idea here is to criminally prosecute those caught cheating on their taxes to deter the rest of the good folks out there from doing the same. To achieve the maximum deterrence, the government must go after broad, balanced, and uniform criminal tax enforcement. By broad and balanced, the government is trying to spread out the prosecutions among all economic statuses, the rich and the poor, and across all vocational statuses. They don't want to hit just lawyers, doctors, and accountants. They're going to spread it out to engineers, restaurant owners, businessmen. They're going to spread it out across all areas of commerce. They're also going to try and spread the prosecutions out over various geographic locations. They won't all be in one area of the country. They're going to be spread out. And they're not just going to come after one type of tax law violation. They're going to try and spread out those prosecutions to lots of different tax law violations. I deal much more often with just the mere threat of criminal prosecution than an actual criminal prosecution. What I can tell you is this: having the potential for criminal tax charges to be hanging over your head is a horrific nightmare for anybody who finds themselves in that situation. The last thing you need is to be judged by the person who's providing you help. My staff has been trained not to be judgmental. I'm not judgmental. I think there for the grace of God go I, and the staff has been trained the same. Just the mere allegation that you may have committed tax crimes coupled with an investigation is enough to have crushing financial, emotional, and reputational implications on your life. These effects can be permanent, even where you're investigated and later found innocent. An allegation has teeth, whether it's true or not. And the most scary thing that I tell my clients, and this is the truth, statistically it's been proven, if the Criminal Investigation Division of the IRS begins an investigation against you, they have an 80% conviction rate. What's really hard to deal with here is the range of possible ramifications where you're in a situation where you're being investigated for tax fraud and you may or may not have cheated. At best, you're looking at a civil fraud penalty of 75%, which I've already mentioned. At worst, you're looking up to 5 years of incarceration for tax crimes, coupled with fines as high as $500,000. Plus, you will be charged for the cost that the government incurs in prosecuting you for the tax crime, plus restitution for all the taxes that you should have paid in the first place that you evaded. And here's the double whammy that most of my clients have the hardest time conceptualizing. After the government has got done with you criminally and they've prosecuted you for your tax crimes, once fraud is proven in an open tax year that took place during that investigation, the civil statute of limitations for assessment falls away entirely. The government can work its way backwards to the dawn of time, uncover all of the fraud that you committed over your entire lifetime if they really wanted to, and hold you financially responsible for that tax fraud. Often I get asked, okay, how many years are they going to go back? You know what I tell my clients? Well, put your net worth on the table, and I think once they've gone back far enough to catch your net worth, they'll stop going backwards. It's that serious.